Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here on YouTube, and welcome to, of course, another Wednesday review. Today I am reviewing the debut full-length album from German heavy metal band that is The Eagle Will Rise from Generation Steel. Now this album was of course released through Pure Steel Records on January 22nd of this year. Let me kind of also see real quick. Yeah, January 22nd. Alright, because I'm on Metal Archives and I'm looking at it. Alright, so, Generation Steel. If you're not completely familiar with these guys, well, like I've stated, they are based out of Germany, which is actually Wetzlar, Hesse. I hope I pronounced that correct. Germany, and they were formed back in 2019. And this, of course, is their debut full-length album. So without further ado, let me get into my thoughts on the debut album from Generation Steel, that is The Eagle Will Rise. Okay, so for this, before I really get into any of my thoughts on this album, well, I always do this. That's a track listing rundown. So we got about 13 songs here. And it all clocks in at 58 minutes and 43 seconds. So, if I can do my best, let me definitely just name off these all these 13 songs. So, that of course begins with the title track, Invoke the Machine, Generation Steel, yes, a song named after the band, Warbringer, Temple of Milady, hopefully I pronounced that right, Praemanus, The Chariot, Shadow in the Dark, Soulmates, On My Way, The Wayward One, Heaven's Calling, and then finally Alive. So there's your 13 songs. Alright. So where do I really begin? Well, I can definitely just tell you, this is a fine, solid album. Again, this is their debut, and I think they do a decent job definitely giving the... yes, I know I used the word definitely. I've been, some people seem to be, I don't know, people are mad that or a little bit baffled that I use the word definitely a lot, so there's the second time. But still, what I was about to say is I think they do a good job in at least giving the listener at least sort of idea of what they're about and what they can do and what they can perform and what they can at least construct when it comes to heavy metal, and especially at times where I would say this definitely borders on more the sort of almost Wolf meets Primal Fear style, almost power metal in some cases, but that's the case. Again, they're German, so there's definitely some of that sort of old school German power metal sound to it, especially the mid-80s period stuff from bands like Halloween and Gravedigger and Blind Guardian and Scanner. And so there's a lot of comparisons to those kind of bands with listening to at least these songs, but I do hear some comparisons to the Swedish band Wolf, for sure. Especially with when it comes to the vocal department, which is all at least performed by Real Ulrich, who's got a nice voice that definitely suits these songs for sure. And again, they're all very mid-paced, very upbeat, very fast in some cases, especially when listening to a track like On My Way, where it really pushes more towards like the speed metal edge in some cases. And same thing can be for the opening title track. So you definitely get plenty at least various of different tempos, but for the most part they're very mid-pace. A lot of double bass drum, kick drum heavy. So you still get, it definitely checks off a lot of those marks when it comes to just the pacing and what you expect from at least a typical heavy metal album, especially within the modern era. So it's a good album. There's still plenty of that classic feel to it, even if it is modern production and modern recording. It still has a raw feel because the guitars are still very crunchy. So it still has a very nice sound to it. So I really can't, there's really nothing here that I could really complain about. And also I have to say, and it's not really a knock, and I'll kind of get to some small nitpicks, but really I can't really knock anything down on it. But there's, again, not every song though really comes, at least jumps out at me. There's not a whole lot that blows me away, but that's not really necessarily a bad thing. Everything, again, it's all enjoyable, and again, I can't really say anything bad. It's all enjoyable stuff. There's really nothing, again, nothing here that's terrible or anything. I like what they do here. It's the same thing with the Viral album, though I think I kind of like this one a little bit more than the Viral album that I reviewed. But again, there's almost a similar treading there. It just has that similar feel. It's definitely just straight up crunchy, modern classic heavy metal, basically. It's good. So, again, I did kind of hint that I've got some nitpicks. For a debut album, I don't know if I'm in favor of adding 13 tracks, because again, when I was reading off the track listing there, you definitely could have heard a little bit of a higher tone in my voice when saying 13 songs, because I feel as much as it's great that they are able to write this many songs, and they were able to. I don't know whether or not if it was a good idea to throw this many songs on one album, because I think, if anything, I think what would have been better if they at least took off at least 3 or 4 songs and kept it to at least the best 9 or 10 tracks to actually give a better impression on the listener. Because I think it's to me, especially who likes this stuff physically, not, again, if I'm really pulling out something that at least I'm going to at least enjoy thoroughly from beginning to end. And I'm not saying that this isn't an enjoyable album. It's, again, I've stated it's an enjoyable album. The only problem I do have with this is that there's a lot of, again, I feel 13's a bit too much for a debut album. Because again, especially if you're doing, let's say, vinyl formatting or whatnot, I feel 13 kind of, it's a little bit, it's overblowing a little bit of the whole thing in some cases. That's just personally me. Again, I feel if you only kept it to the 9 or 10 best songs, I think you would have still would have got the same reaction, but it would have been even a better reaction, maybe. I don't know. I'm not trying to completely say that or jump the gun by saying that there's not very many people that are not getting a good reaction because of it's so overloaded with songs. But it's just a personal nitpick. That's all. But to me, it doesn't completely hurt the record. It's just that I feel, again, you're just a little overloading. Could have at least made one of these maybe a bonus track. Could have, who knows? He could have done special editions, whatnot. I don't know. That's just personally me. But again, it's not a complete knock on the album, because again, it's a fine record for what it is. It's just that personally, I feel for a better idea of a debut album, I think if you keep it to at least the 9 or 10 best songs that you're writing or have written and have recorded, then I think the album might end up being maybe a little more stronger, and there might be more, a little leading more for people to want to at least listen to it more often, especially when it comes to after listening to it. Again, just that playback quality. That's all. That's just personally me. All right. Don't completely take that at least strongly as a offense or whatnot. I'm not trying to offend anyone, especially the band members. It's just a personal little opinion of mine. That's all. So it's still a fine record. As far as songs that I do kind of like off this album, there's about 6 here. I like the title track. I like Invoke the Machine, The Chariot, On My Way, Heaven's Calling, which has a very cool vibe to it. I like the fact that it begins with a sort of marching beat, and it again has a very slow, sort of heavy pace to it. I like it. And of course, the final track, Alive, I think, and it's a very good song that really ends the album. That's a very solid track. So there you go. So there it is. There is my thoughts on The Eagle Will Rise, the debut album from Generation Steel. And my rating, it's a 8.15 out of 10. Again, this is a fine album from these guys. Again, I guess, my only small nitpick is I wish it would have been nice if they only kept the track listing at least down to at least maybe the best 9 or 10 songs. because then it would, again, it leaves room for wanting to listen to it more often, because again, 58 minutes, it's almost getting close to being an hour in some cases. So it's a very, just a little bit long-winded in some cases. It might overstay its welcome. That's my only little nitpick on the album. But it's a fine record. So, this album has been out since January 22nd. If you have been familiar with this album, if you have heard it, again, which means if you have any thoughts on this album, you yourself who's probably watching this and who has heard it, again, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, I'm very curious on what you guys think of this album. But if you haven't heard this album and are very curious on wanting to check this album anyways, besides my small little nitpicks on this album, then, you know what, I do recommend checking this album out, and I will leave you a link to, of course, Pure Steel Records Bandcamp page, which I hope I'm linking it to the right page so you can at least check this album out. Because I hope that they do have it on their Bandcamp page, and they probably do. So if you see the link in the description box, then you know they do have it on there, and you can listen to it. Again, it's a very solid album, or again, you can find it on the New Wave or Traditional Heavy Metal Full Albums YouTube channel, where the album has been uploaded, and apparently it's gained a lot of views. So again, I guess, again, there's a lot of people that do listen to the album, and that's fantastic. I'm glad. So, with that, I hope all of you enjoyed. This is Thresher Sam out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.